Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Guest Talks. I'm your host, Maggie, and this is a space to have empowering conversations around healing journey, awakening journey, anything connected with personal growth. My guest today is my fellow Sunshine Coast local, Henry Reith, and he loves to blend his love of science and spirituality and helps entrepreneurs build purpose driven businesses and spiritually aligned businesses. Welcome, Henry, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you for having me. And I'm very excited that we're representing the Sunshine Coast
Yeah.
here. So we better put on a good show.
Yes, let's. So what I like to do with my guests, because probably the conversation is going to go in many directions, but I love to start by asking about a turning point in my guests' lives, because we all most likely have been a different kind of person when we were younger to what we are right now. So I want to ask you, Henry, has there been an incident or a turning point or a breaking point in your life that has changed the trajectory of your life, changed how you started viewing your life or the world around you?
Yes, I think there's many small things when I was growing up, but I think the really big thing that so much of my life is now built from and created from was I broke my back when I was 18. I was
Mm-hmm.
out mountain biking. I was actually studying for my final exams. So what I would do is I'd revise like a good student for 45 minutes. And then I used to have this, yeah, I had just
I
about
was a
enough
bit different
attention
type
for
of
that.
good student, but okay.
So I'd revise for 45 minutes. Then I'd jump on my mountain bike. We lived out in the country and I'd ride around this 20-minute loop. And then by the end of my revision, I was getting really good. So it was a 15-minute loop. And at the end of the day, I would go on this huge ride, about an 18-mile ride, all the way around the back of the hill, back through the woods and all of that stuff. And
Mm,
one day, one of my parents' friends, who was also a mountain biker, adult, complete adult at the time, mid-30s,
mm,
was said he'd come out with us or with me. So I went out as I would normally at the end of the day. By that point, I was super fit. One of the byproducts of doing all this mountain biking is I was
yeah.
really, really fit. And um, I jumped on my mountain bike. For some reason that day, for the first time in ages, I said, yeah, I'll put my helmet on.
Mm,
And I was definitely the 18-year-old who didn't particularly care for rules, didn't particularly care for being told what to do. But for whatever reason, put my helmet on and yeah, this guy was faster than me and things, and we were going around the back of the hill and dropping down into this sort of turn.
mm,
And for whatever reason, I took it faster than I should have. It was very dry, it was very gravelly, and I just kept slipping out and out. And I saw this tree coming towards me, and the tree was going up, and then there was a 90-degree branch, and I knew I had that slow second of, "Oh, no. What's gonna happen here?"
time
So,
froze for a little bit.
time was frozen, the world I knew that something was about to happen. So
Mm,
what I tried to do is I tried to bend down and bend my head down on the bike, but
yeah.
what I actually ended up doing is just driving my head straight into this
Oof.
90-degree branch, and, um at that point, I was gone. My body, I remember leaving my body. I remember seeing my body. I remember seeing the bike, and I was it was so peaceful,
Mm,
and I was going towards the white light. I had that experience. I started seeing everything very slowly fade away in this gorgeous energy of presentness and just freedom. And I
mm.
got all the way to the point where it was really faint, and something hit me really hard saying, "You need to go back. You've got something inside of you. There's something that you're here to do."
Okay.
And I remember coming back into my body, really like sort of thudding back into my body, and just the agony and pain. And it was almost so much pain that I didn't know what to do with the pain. It was
Mm,
just everywhere, and I didn't I the guy came back because eventually he got to the next point and realized, well, it's been a long time. Where is Henry?
Oh, so he wasn't next to you. He didn't see what happened.
No, he
Oh,
was ahead. We'd sort of do little
'cause
waypoints all the way
yeah,
around
I
the
see.
route, and
Mm,
he came back to find me on the floor. Uh, at that point, I'd started coming around,
yeah.
and I just had to walk, having no idea what was happening to my body. I had to try and walk off the hill around the far side from my house. So, uh, yeah, I remember just walking in so
So
much
you were
pain.
walking afterwards?
Yeah, I remember just holding the bike, at the most arm's length possible, because that's as far as I could sort of move my body up, and trying to push it around the mountain until I hit the road. And my luckily we had phone signal 20 years ago. I can't believe this
Mm,
is 20 years ago. And my parents came and picked me up around the far side. That actually took them 20 minutes to go around the hill.
yeah.
And I walked in the house. My mum looked at me and said, "Your back's broken," because my body was kind of
Mm,
there was my legs were in one place and my upper body was in another place. So, um,
wow.
mum, having been a nurse, said, "We're going to hospital right now." And I was so delirious and knocked out and all the rest. I was like, "No, I'm
Yeah,
fine."
that's the adrenaline, isn't it? It's like, "No, it's nothing happened here. It's okay. We'll be okay."
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was straight to the emergency unit. And by the time I was sitting in mum's car and the adrenaline was wearing off, I was suddenly thinking, hang on,
Mm.
I feel really, really, really bad here. I feel bad.
And so that's a big one. You're 18 years old, so you're pretty much a kid, or a
Mm,
kid that thinks that he's an adult, I suppose. At that age, we all kind of start thinking that we already know everything that there is to know. At least in my case, that was kind of the 18-year-old. There's two things I'd like to talk, so you can pick which one you want to go with first. What happened after you had this experience? Because I would assume it impacted you. I mean, the seeing yourself and walking away. I'm assuming it may have opened some path to spirituality, seeing yourself outside of the body and realizing certain things. But then again, you were 18, so that's why I'm curious what went there. And I would also love to talk about the actual physical recovery and living with the pain and all that came after. But
mm.
you can tell me which one is better to start with.
I'll probably take living with the pain first, because I
Yeah.
think my 18-year-old self, yes, I'd had this experience, but I didn't tell anyone
You,
because it was
yeah.
so outside of what I understood.
Mm,
I remember until pretty recently, I could count on one hand in 10 years the people I'd ever told, because it was so
mm.
foreign to me. So I think what all my 18-year-old self was basically worried with was, how do I recover? How do I get back to this? But I always knew at the back of my mind there was something. So yeah,
Yeah,
went
like
to
it's quite normal. It was just too big for you to comprehend, so you just kind of stored it, right? Until you were ready. I think that's how I would
mm,
see it.
and the people I had told until more recently, until this was
Mm,
something I'd understood, y- they were my absolute closest friends. I don't know if I ever told my parents this directly. I think I
okay.
had to really pick
Yeah.
the people over the time. But yeah, I went to hospital. They 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 put their finger down my back and were like, "Yep, some of
Yeah.
it's not there."
No
There
bueno.
No, it's not in the right place. And I think I went for some X-rays. It was actually a World Cup soccer game that England were playing that day, and I grew up in the
Mm.
UK.
Yeah.
So when we went in, there was no one that was really lucky. So I was sort of in there really quickly, and they tried
Yeah.
to put me, after they had been through all the tests, they tried to put me in a bed overnight. And that's when the drinking culture in England, people start walking in with glass in their face, and they've been
Yeah.
in
Yeah. Yeah.
fights and all sorts of things. And mum and I just looked at each other and said, "This is not the place. Some
Yeah.
emergency ward is not the place that I need to be right now." So
Mm.
between mum and I, we managed to convince them to let me go out of hospital, and I just lay on my bed in my house at home
Yeah.
for 5.5 weeks, and essentially did everything not to move. I remember brushing my teeth was almost impossible because having any rotation,
Mm.
I could just feel the crunchy. I could feel it, and I had a few moments lying in bed where I just lost my sense of my body and what I was doing, and yeah, I I had some really scary moments through those couple of weeks, not
So you
knowing if I was
couldn't
going to
move
come
at
back.
all? That was the doctor's orders that you are not able to move at all? You were meant to be lying down the whole time?
Yeah, I I had some friends try and point me towards sports doctors that would
Yeah.
maybe have had experience with the injury. But it was my parents actually told me when I was lying there after a few days, broken my back, and I
Mm.
should have been doing my exams. My parents actually told me that they were breaking up and going their separate ways. So I
Henry, that's a lot.
and they even said, "Oh, hey, we've actually been trying to just stay together so you can go through your final exams, but now you're not doing them, by the way."
You're already fucked. Let's just add another thing. You can handle it, Henry. You got bigger problems than your parents splitting.
So I think in a really weird way, I had this sense of that they were doing their own,
Yeah.
what they were doing in the world to do their things. And yes, I was lying there with a broken back, but almost no one really cared because they've got their
Shit,
stuff to do.
okay. Yeah.
So I don't think, as much as I had a few friends that over time were trying to push me towards sports doctors, I
Mm.
never, in my mind, I never took that initiative to go say to my parents, like, "Hey, you got to take me to people that really understand this stuff." Um,
Well, you probably didn't know at the time either, because I mean, coming from my experience with my knee surgery, which was recent, it was 5 years ago, so I was much older than you at 18. I just trusted the specialist, right? So I trusted that whatever the physiotherapist is telling me is good enough for my recovery.
mm,
So in a way, I think that's normal that whatever the doctors told you, you didn't feel the need to look outside of that advice to see if there's anything else, because we trust the authority, we trust the system, or we are
100%.
taught to trust the system because they are literally there to fix that problem that you had. So they
Yeah,
are the specialists for it. So why would you go and look for extra advice if you're already being taken care of, right? So,
yeah, and they did try and get me back in for an MRI scan,
mm,
and that was after about 3 weeks, and I just freaked out halfway down the tube and said, "Get me out of here," and said, "You know
oh,
what? I believe in myself. I'll figure out how to recover. You lot, I like you haven't you've basically told me to lie and don't move, so I'm just not gonna move for the next 5.5 weeks." And,
okay.
yeah, I went back to the doctor after 5.5 weeks, and he gave me all sorts of tap tests with, rubber hammers and stuff on my
Yeah,
shoulders and
yeah.
knees, and, just essentially said I was very, very lucky that I was that fit, that strong, and
And that young, because that
that young.
young body heals
It
quicker as well. Yeah.
100%. So there was, "You're lucky, you're lucky, you're lucky," and, um, I I actually went to go and see my friends who I hadn't seen for a long time. All my friends came to see me at the end of exams, and then I didn't
Mhm.
see them for another month.
Yeah.
And yeah, I went to go and see my friends, and pretty much that afternoon, I went and played squash. And I was like, "We're just going to go. I'm going to try and be as normal and as back to
Okay.
normal as possible." And I had a few moments. I've definitely over the next few weeks, I had a few moments where I play tennis or squash over school holidays, and I felt something really painful.
Mm.
But I was also I grew up motocrossing and I was a UK champion, and I had this kind of grit that I will just figure this out. I will do this. I'm just
Okay.
going to keep going. And it wasn't until I was probably 21, my
Mm.
dad pushed me towards a chiropractor who tried to do some stuff before I went and left the UK.
Mm.
And as I have found out since then from other chiropractors and other people, um, that particular chiropractor gave me so much bad advice. and actually has probably had more just as much damage from the advice he gave me and what he did to me in those moments than the accident itself. So I've actually spent a huge amount of time recovering from his initial
Yeah.
4 or 5 weeks of treatment coming out of the coming back to normal with my back.
Yeah, I actually can relate because I think the first 6 months of my ACL recovery, I was badly run by this physio. And that was just, I mean, technically, as far as I'm aware, he was doing whatever's in the textbook recovery of ACL, but it just wasn't working on me.
Mm,
And my case required looking at me as a human, not as another number in the statistics, and thinking outside of the box, which he never did. He never tried. And then I changed after 6 months, but the damage was already done, like you said. The recovery, which meant to makes us stronger, it can, if it's done by someone that doesn't, I don't know if it's lack of passion for the job, or maybe lack of care in a way that's like, oh, it's just another person. We're going to treat it the same way. Whereas
mhm.
we are all different cases because every human is different. Everybody is different, even if the injury is the same, right? So it can actually do more damage than, well, I didn't expect that a physiotherapy can bring damage to me, but it did. It
Same.
worsened my condition. And now, 4.5 years later, my knee is still not 100% because of those initial 6 months that I haven't been properly taken care of. I lack the knowledge to know to ask for different things, or do anything, because again, I trusted the authority. I trusted the one person that all he does is heal ACL, treat ACL. So why would
Mm,
I think that he doesn't know what he's doing?
yeah,
Right?
and I had the same feeling is that, well, this
Mm.
chiropractor, well, number one, my dad had recommended me, so
Mm.
you got to tick there, and then this chiropractor, that's what he does.
Yeah, that's their specialty. Yeah.
And I think that's something with recommendations is that uh, I learned later in my 20s that even be careful for me with recommendations for anything, whether it's spiritual or
Yeah.
medical or anything. And I think that breaking my back was so pivotal because it was my final exams.
Mm.
I went from being a child in school to my parents going their separate ways. And at the same time, I didn't do my final exams. So by that point, I was pretty not interested in school, and I
Yeah.
dropped down to 2 subjects where lots of friends who were desperate to get into uni had gone up to 4,
Yeah.
and I never had uni on my radar, but I just stayed in school from 16 to 18 because that's what everyone else did.
Mm.
But I had the opportunity to go back to school, but then that would have meant dropping down a year and all sorts of stuff, and my brain just wasn't in that space, so there were
Mm.
so many things around that my life completely changed
Yeah.
from everything else because of the exact time that was in. If it was a year before,
Mm.
no worries, you just do the exams the next time, but,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
never
it's
went.
definitely like a very pivotal time in your life, not only the pivotal moment and the experience, but also kind of placed on the crossroads of your life. So
Mm.
it's definitely shaped who you. So do you think well, you said you're not interested in uni, you never were, so I'm assuming you were always an entrepreneurial soul, or had something have you always known that you want to create a business and build your own thing, or was it just the uni that you were against but not necessarily working for someone? How did that go with them?
I had my dad, as I was growing up, had his own business, so I always looked up to him and thought, well, that's just how you live. I didn't to a degree understand there was a 9 to 5 version of the world.
Mm-hmm.
My dad did do the 5 a.m. through to midnight. He was away for 3, 4 days a week. He did the super amount of work that
Mm.
running your own business requires. And from that, at the age of 5 years old, when in class everyone's, hey, I want to be a fireman, hey, I want to be a bus driver, hey, I want to
Mm.
be a nurse, hey, I want to be a doctor, like all the basic stuff they ask you, I said, I want to be an accountant because my
Oh
under
wow.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't see that coming. I thought you were going to say entrepreneur.
Well, my idea was my understanding, because my dad was so precise with numbers, was
Mm.
to run your own business, you had to be
You
an
gotta know the
accountant or
numbers.
understand
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah.
That is partly true, but it's also not. So through the whole of my school, all I cared about, apart from being a DJ and out
Mm,
a lot of my life out DJing, the other half of me, I was DJing at night and literally just walking when I left school into college, having DJed all night to train as an accountant. So I got to
mm.
work when I left school. I got to work
20.
as a trainee accountant and DJ, and that was my dream. And then, funnily enough, I've never actually done account since I did my final exams in accounting. I've
Mm,
never actually been an accountant because it.
okay.
I was like, now I want to go and run my own thing because by that point I was 21 and seeing the bigger world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've definitely worked for people and I've been very lucky who I have worked for. But
Mm.
from the age of 5 years old, no, I want to be an accountant. No, I want to
Okay,
be an
okay.
accountant.
Well, that's good. Like we learn from our parents the most, right? So whatever the work environment they bring, we observe, and we either decide we're not going to do what they're doing, or we want to do what they're doing, depending how well it's going for them, right? And how they present themselves with it. Um, so that's kind of understandable. So how did you? Because now I wanna maybe pivot a little bit to building purpose driven businesses, because this is something I am super into as well. I am currently building my own solid business, I call it, but it's the same thing, purpose driven. So there's something bigger behind, right? We have a
Mm,
mission, we have a vision, and we want to do great, as in we want to bring something great to the world, be of service to other people, change something in the world. So the mission itself is greater than just for us, right? That's how I understand purpose driven, solid driven business. So how did you find your way towards figuring out that it's good to build a business that is purpose driven?
and I think that's where my accident initially didn't have this spiritual impact on me.
Mhm.
But as I started going through my 20s and my mid 20s, and it had been 7 and 8 years through,
Mhm.
I'd been reading a lot of personal development, sort of the standard personal development
Mm.
about write your goals down, work
Yeah.
towards your goals, kind of the basic things. And then I think at about the age of 26, 27, I started reading meditate.
Mm.
There's these ideas of angels in the world.
Mm.
I started having some interest in what the religious text said
Okay.
and just being interested in how all the religions viewed God, but kind of taking a step back and realizing, well, they all talk about this, in my opinion, they all talk about the same thing, just in a
Using
slightly
different
different
words.
way.
Yeah.
Um, And so I started going from the personal development, standard personal development stuff to more spiritual things. And I think from that point onwards, it became really hard to just work 9 to 5 or do things just for money because it didn't seem um I in the
Important.
yeah,
Fulfilling.
in
Yeah.
the example of learning about angels, I learned how to connect with some of my angels, and from that point onwards it just I just knew there was more to the world
Mm.
than,
Yeah.
working 9 to 5. Simple
Yeah.
as that.
Yeah, I know. I understand. I mean, it took me a while. I've only quit my corporate job 2 years ago. So my journey has been a bit different, but it kind of beautifully always, everything is, I believe, in divine timing, and we all learn through different things. And I love that you followed your curiosity, because it sounds like you were just curious. It wasn't even that the people came into your life that maybe opened your mind. It was just something inside of you, which I definitely believe is connected to the accident. But I also believe that sometimes we need a little bit of time before we can open or further develop what was planted. So like
Mhm,
to me, your accident is planting the seed, right? There's this thing in you, but maybe you're too young. Maybe you don't know enough of the world yet to venture out a little bit more. And I think that's kind of normal as well. Not everyone can just jump in deep water straight away. Like,
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing for me is when I started. I think there was the round one of I read all these things.
yeah.
I read about angels. I read about breath. I read about manifestation. I read about meditating.
Mm-hmm.
And then it almost took another 2 years. I
Yeah.
still didn't have other people in that world around me, but
Yeah.
probably took another 2 years until another pretty big moment. And uh, being able to appreciate I had a I was going to the chiropractor in my late 20s and
Mm-hmm.
then met a kinesiologist, and she said that she could fix my pain, that my back pretty much hurt me through my whole 20s.
Oh,
She said,
okay.
I can fix that. And I was like, yeah, cool, okay. But I'd just been reading enough of that stuff to think, well, maybe she can. And she said,
Mm-hmm.
you won't need to go to the chiropractor again. And she did a exercise and we did a kinesiology session, and from that day onwards my back was healed, and I realized that lots of it was me. And it still took another year before I started actually doing the things that I've been reading about for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But she almost proved that that version of the world, that we
Yes.
are the energy, she proved
Yes.
to me that that was a thing. And it it wasn't until I actually moved out to the country, so I had no one around me, that I just got to explore all these practices
Okay.
and
That's cool.
and stuff,
Yeah.
and basically just shut myself off from the world for 4 years. I'm like,
Mm.
"Right, I'm gonna try and learn about myself to the nth degree," and
Yeah.
meditating did so many. I think that was the thing that brought me fully into the world of we are energy and we are more, than
Okay.
we think we are.
Okay. Let me just speak about or like flesh out the thing you said about learning all these things, but then a little bit of time needed to still pass for you to
Mm,
integrate all of this and embody it. It was a very similar thing for me. I after my surgery, that's when that was my catalyst to just go in this personal development, because I knew my answers are somewhere there. And for a year, I was like, oh my God, I have all this knowledge, but I'm still making the same mistakes, or I'm still, the same patterns are running. Like, what the hell is going on here? And then I realized, like, oh, I'm not integrating anything. So that's I mean, I think it's changing now, and people talk about the integration and the embodiment, and it's easier to kind of do it straight after. But there's still a lot of things out there that they give you the knowledge, or they tell you about what to do, but
mm,
there's no integration, there's no embodiment. And for you to really for the wisdom to get stuck in your body and be remembered, and for you to take different action, you need to embody the knowledge, right? You need to, whatever you learned, you then need to start practicing it. It's not just what you have here, it goes through your actions. So I think there's either the time in between, or you can just do it with, you learn and then you spend some time to embody before you go and you learn a little bit more. So like there's few ways to go about it, but the embodiment is what then opened you to more, to deepen. But
mm.
there's always a deeper level, right? There's always more to learn, but the more embodied you are, I feel, the more advanced kind of, or the more you can then learn and even more embody, because it's like levels. You can't just go from 0 to 100. You need to prep your body, your consciousness, your awareness, and your embodiment. They all need to grow simultaneously, in my opinion, for you to ascend, right?
Yeah, and I think that was the what I found interesting about meditating is I started meditating and everyone says, "Hey, meditation is going to be this incredible experience.
Mm,
You're going to feel amazing, all this stuff." And when I started meditating twice a day,
mm,
and I learned it from a course, um,
okay.
I was so ill. I was coughing up all kinds of stuff. I was so tired, and I've always been relatively strong and fit.
Mm.
And not to boast, but I've always had a six pack of some sort. Like it's always looked pretty good down in the abs. So
Not to brag, but
yeah,
yes.
not to brag, but I when I started meditating, the
Yeah.
weirdest thing happened. I lost all my muscles.
Wow,
They
okay.
just disappeared, and, especially the six pack just was gone.
Meditation was like, "Stop being shallow."
Well, what I did learn pretty quick was all of the muscles and the stuff on the outside was actually my defense, and my
Yeah, your
stress was
armor.
literally just in my body, just holding me,
Mm,
and it was I realized that as I was going through it. So the first 3 months of meditation were actually pretty crap, to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
And I
Sounds
just
like
had to
it.
yeah, keep going, and, yeah, I was aware enough towards the end of that that no, that's just literally the amount of stress that I had through my whole
Mm,
childhood, and it's at that point I started looking back at my accident and thinking, "Oh, wow, I wonder if I hurt myself to embody the pain I was actually feeling in the world right then." And I think I have come to believe that whatever we're feeling, we figure out a way of our body getting there if relatively quickly. It's not like
mm,
I feel off today while my body tomorrow is going to something happen, but I do believe over a build up of maybe a year or two,
mm.
we'll find a way for our body to go and match what we're feeling inside of us. And yeah, at that point, I realized, hey, I think my back breaking was the pain that I was feeling in life.
Yeah, I think I agree. I what I'm hearing is that, and that was the case with me, I would say, the more you avoid the pain or deny the pain that you're feeling, because that's the point. You weren't feeling that pain. You were ignoring the pain
Mm,
that was inside of you. So there had to be a manifestation of the outside pain for you to start paying attention. That was definitely the case with my knee. Had I not torn my ACL, I'll keep ignoring my pain that was inside. Even if I had some pain from Muay Thai, it was just still like, yeah, whatever, everything is fine. As soon as the injury happened and the actual physical pain was, like you said, from the accident with my leg, it actually felt like it's the most excruciating pain. And most likely, I think it's because I then started feeling what I was repressing inside. So it
mm.
wasn't just the physical, just everything just went because there was an opening. And once it's so big, you have no fucking choice but to start doing things differently. You
Yeah,
literally don't have, and you have no choice. You're gonna be like, am I gonna do this, what I've been doing, or am I gonna figure out something else? So you're like, okay, I'm gonna go there. I don't know what's there, but I'm gonna go there because this sucks. This hurts. I'm gonna go there.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
And I think from that realization, it's been a 5-year journey
Yeah.
of really speedy recovery from making the choice. And I don't know what
Mm,
your experience has been, but when I understood there was more, I feel like my whole
mm,
world has shifted so quickly.
mm. Yeah, for me, I mean, the pain journey with my leg, it's still actually ongoing. My leg is still not 100%, so there's always, there's still challenges. But I think the whole perception of just seeing, and so for me, like having a vision, creating a vision, thinking outside of just, beyond let's fix my leg, or let's, like a bigger purpose is what kept me going, and then helping me accept the current situation as it is, instead of focusing on the limitations, instead of focusing on what I don't have or what I cannot do. I could focus on, appreciate what I actually have, because I think not having the leg functioning for a while helped me appreciate all the other things that I have, all the other parts of my body that are doing. Like, I was very neglecting of my body before. I mean, I
Mm,
took it for granted in that way. It was just, it's my body. It's gonna work. You just, you don't think it's gonna just be taken away like that, and then it is, and you're like, whoa, okay, shit. So now you appreciate that you can walk a little bit, or that you can, pull yourself up with your hands, or do some other stuff, like basic things that you've learned as a kid, and they become a natural part of your life. You then forget to be appreciative of them because you just assume it's always going to work
yeah.
until it's not working. And then you're like, oh, okay. So a lot of appreciation from the pain, I think, can come for anyone. So I feel like any sort of person that suffered chronic pain or any injury that kind of stopped them in the tracks for more than few days, um, is very eye-opening and helps us tap into the gratitude that otherwise we just take things for granted, right?
And from your experience, do you see it as if it sticks around more than a few days, it's probably something to look at as well? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Well, my knee has never stopped hurting, so it's not like it comes back and goes away. So I just know that there's still things that, and I know what they are. Like I'm working on a lot of things, so like I understand, but I also know that there is a part of me that is blocking my own healing, that I'm
Mm,
self-sabotaging it. Like you said, if I was every day, and that's what happens with the Pilates that I started doing. And the reason it started working is because I came with a different mindset. And I came in, it's like, I'm not here to fix it. I'm detaching myself from the outcome. I'm here to have fun, to learn a new thing, to get my body stronger, because where I'm going, I need a strong body. But it
mm,
was more like determination of, I'm just going to get it because I always get it. You know, like pre-surgery Maggie, she thought that way.
mm.
But when you then live in with chronic pain for a while, you kind of, that confidence may disappear here and there, right? So I kind of had to pick myself up and be like, okay, we don't want to be thinking of how long it's going to take or nothing's going to work because I've tried so many things and it's still hurting. I was like, no, clean slate, let's go. Let's change my mindset around it. And it's working much better. But I feel there's still part of me somewhere deep down that is not like 100% if I can wake up tomorrow and be pain free.
Yeah, and that's something that I realized, and it was actually meditation that helped me get there in
Mm,
the first well, the next major thing after the first 3 months of my body just sort of
mm,
de-stressing at this incredible speed
yeah.
was I remember in a meditation, I suddenly realized I couldn't visualize myself without a broken back. Even
Mm,
though if you asked me to draw a human,
mm-hmm.
like if I
Yeah.
drew you,
Yeah.
I would draw you
Yeah.
without a broken back. But for
Yeah.
me, I realized in the meditation that, hey, I
Oh,
visualize myself with this. And I
yeah.
spent absolutely ages rewiring my mind to not have a broken back. So something I did then, and I still do here and there now,
I'm gonna
is
take a note.
I have a random timer app on my
Okay.
phone
Mm-hmm.
and just a bell or a ding that goes off
Mm-hmm.
randomly between say 2 hours and 10 hours.
Okay.
It will might go off a few times a day.
Okay.
And at that second, I try and visualize through my body
Yeah.
exactly what my vision on my body is.
Mm.
And I found it so amazing in the first probably year of meditating that there was still a vision of the broken back. And exactly the time the bell goes off to a body scan, I then rebuild my body in that sort of
Okay.
1 second down to the and back up and just rebuild my body without a broken back in there.
Mm.
And so by having it being completely random, I learned that
Yeah, you're not kind of like,
I'm
you
not
don't need to drag yourself to do it. It's just, yeah, you kind of train yourself to be able to. Mm.
yeah, and I think also I'm not there obsessing over it, but
Yeah.
when that ding does go off and I do the very quick body scan, I can just put myself back together super quickly. And it probably took 2 years of doing that. And I remember actually changing one day and putting clothes on, and that was the first time I could ever feel my brain felt that I didn't have a
Mm.
broken back.
Yeah. Oh my God. I wanna kind of stay on this topic for a little bit because if anyone is listening that had or has still chronic pain, I think this is a very important conversation that I would love for anyone to tell me this a few years ago. Um, I have exactly the same thing. People were like, just visualize going back into the ring, visualize running, visualize the other leg being healthy. And frankly, it just pissed me off because I couldn't, because it was in so much pain. And
Mm.
all you live is with those limitations and you're trying to already do so many things. And then they're like, well, just, imagine running like you used to. And I'm like, it's impossible in here. It's just like erased completely. Even if I remember how it was it's like it's not accessible because you kind of want to imagine even healthier version of you, because even the version of me before, I actually didn't see it as healthy, because then I saw all the other things that I wasn't processing and I wasn't addressing. So even though my body was looking healthy from the outside, it actually wasn't the healthiest version of me. So it was kind of like this, like, I can't go back there. I can't envision this. This hurts as well. So what do I do? So I like that you said that it takes 2 years. It is something that we need to be patient with. It's
Yeah.
not something, and people, the way they tell you, it kind of sounds like you just do it once and it's going to stick. It's not going to stick. It requires a lot of resilience. It requires a lot of faith. So that's why I think it's important to surround yourself with people that you can talk to about. My thing
Yeah.
was I had no one to talk to, or I didn't feel like I can talk to anyone that I can express my disappointment, or, because by expressing disappointment, then, I was confusing the victim mentality with just expressing my frustration, two
Mm.
different things. But in your mind, it's like, don't complain because you're trying. So like, it was very, very confusing to, how to address it. But now with what I've gathered is, acceptance is a very important thing. Yes, also trying to imagine the life when it doesn't hurt, but from the place that you're accepting where you are. And for me, that was a very long journey to wish for a better pain-free leg, but also staying in acceptance of how my body is functioning right now.
Mm.
Not from, please be better because I hate you right now, because you're not doing enough for me. Like, there's this, if you're not liking how your body's operating, you kind of like, that's not a good energy. That's like, you need to be in acceptance and you need to find gratitude for whatever else is functioning, because your back maybe not functioning, but maybe your legs are better or something else is better,
Mm.
even outside of your body. Like, there needs to be acceptance and gratitude before you can envision all the other things, in my opinion. Like, the acceptance part was what was missing for quite a long time in my journey. And as soon as I tapped into it, I was like, oh, okay. It's not like
Mm.
the leg stopped hurting immediately, but my perception of the rest of my journey, I could chill, I could relax, I could see that it's actually going to happen. I could believe that things going to get better because I accepted where I am right now.
Mm. And I think with that, I also learnt the idea of breathing into where the pain
Mm,
is. And if you had asked me 10 years ago or 15 years ago when I was 18,
yeah,
hey, go and breathe into where the pain is, I wouldn't
yeah,
have believed that that was a
yeah.
thing. But as you said now, because I believe I'm open to all these alternate
Mm,
ideas, I have definitely had the experience of breathe into where the pain is, and I can not erase it, but I can completely change how I'm viewing that pain in the moment. Sort of
mm,
breathe in, breathe it back out, and just sit there for 5 minutes and do that. And I won't say I've ever eradicated it, but I have dulled that sensation and felt
mm.
like that has been a fix. And then more deeper breath works. I've definitely done some
Yeah.
pretty
I
crazy
think the
medical
breath
things.
work is also acceptance, right? Because when you breathe into something, you don't resist it. And acceptance is nothing more but acknowledging and sitting with it. Whereas we are used to pushing away whatever's uncomfortable, right? So you
Mm.
don't like something, you just don't want to think about it. You're just gonna, like, you know, focus on something else, distract yourself with something else, just go and pretend that doesn't exist. And that goes whether it's your limiting beliefs, your patterns, your trauma, or something physical like our pain. Like, it goes pretty much for everything. It's the same kind of thing. You want to sit with some of the things in order to transmute them, alchemize them, or just accept them, breathe through them. It's all about being able to be present with your reality as it is, even if
Mm.
trying to work and bettering things. I think that's the missing ingredient for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think we could even go deeper from what you've just said. Is I think the breath brings us into so much
Yeah.
presence,
Yes.
and potentially in presence, there's in our present moment of second, we're in absolute heaven. We are perfection,
Yeah.
but the pain is really just an energy from the past that we're still holding
Mm,
on to. And then when we are in presence in the breath, there is no pain because we're present.
mm.
And
Mm. Well, my mind wants to like negate you because like I still feel pain even when I'm present, but
mm,
not always because now it's much less grave. But when the pain was much more excruciating, and for like 3 years it was pretty excruciating, just no one knew about it because gotta gotta remain that everything is fine and doesn't hurt me that much because otherwise it's overwhelming to other people as well. So kind of like a weird thing to try to manage people's emotions when you are in pain yourself, but that's what we do. But yes, it's beautiful how everything is connected, right? The breath, the acceptance, it's like those small, simple, easy sounding practices are the most powerful ones.
yeah, I think it's so easy to ignore the simple ones.
Yeah.
It's too easy to just go
Yeah.
and breathe.
Yeah,
It's
but then
too
when you try it, you know that it's not that easy, right?
yeah.
Because being in meditation for 5 minutes, it's actually not easy for anyone unless you're already like a solid meditator. You're gonna be like, I'm still fidgety. Actually, my meditation is more movement meditation. So like I either do walking meditations or I dance. Dance is like the movement is my meditation. So it's not just sitting because I'm very fidgety.
Mm,
But it is also meditating as long as it's more sorry, it's more about the state of mind, like when you can get into the flow, when you can get out of your head and into the body. That is the purpose of meditation, right? So you can be present with your body,
mm,
and it can be achieved by other things as well. I think anytime we are in a flow, you achieve that state. Anytime you do something that brings you so much joy that you forget about everything else, that's like meditation for
and
the mind because
it from that, one of the things that really helped me was
mm,
I listened to quite a bit of Joe Dispenza
yeah.
in that early spiritual discovery.
Mhm.
And one of his really cool techniques is go for a walk like you're the
Yeah.
person who you want to be.
Mhm.
And I sort of flip that around also to every day in my habit tracker, have 30 minutes of conscious energy,
Okay.
whether I'm walking or doing something else or even working, is what is the energy I'm in versus the higher self version of me,
Mhm.
and try and be really conscious over a 30-minute span of just being in a very high frequency, putting myself in a very what's my ultimate version of me self.
Okay.
And it's I find it really hard, even over a 30-minute span, to
30 minutes
hold,
is a long time.
yeah, like hold this high level of energy or this
Yeah.
higher frequency, or hold my shoulders as if there's nothing that ever happened. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's something I've done for just over a year now, is 30
Okay.
minutes a day, is whether I'm working, whether I'm walking, it's just some part of the day. Even I've done it just before going to bed. Like, how would $100 million Henry
Yeah.
walk around the house to brush his teeth to go to
Yeah.
bed?
Yeah.
Like, and just experience that, because then, that comes into my back, and other things is I find it really hard to do, but when I
Mhm.
do it, I can feel the shift of how I am becoming that person.
That's the embodiment. That's the embodiment that I think is quite tricky for a lot of people out there. At least that definitely was tricky for me. Any sort of visualize or be the person before the external proof, right? Like act like a millionaire before you have the million, or act like you have something before you have it. This is very common advice in manifestation or somewhere. And to me, I mean, I was always annoyed by this advice, which is probably because I knew it's true. So I was like, that's not going to work. I'm not even going to try it. And then I tried for 2 minutes. It didn't work. But that's the funny thing, because usually what we resist the most, that's usually my advice, because in my case, whatever I resisted the most was exactly what would help me. So
Yeah.
like my body just immediately, so like if I'm very resistant towards something, I know now that this is exactly where I need to go, because that's how my body communicates with me. The more I'm like, this is not going to work, it's like, this is exactly. Obviously, there's discernment. There's some really bad things out there as well, but then I can. It's kind of shows up differently. I just know that this is just not a good advice. But if it's more with fear or with like resistance, as in like kind of almost stubbornness,
Mm,
that, oh, it's probably worked for some, but it's not going to work. It's like this kind of attitude. It's like most likely your body already knows this is where the answers are for you, because different modalities. You meditate a lot, I move a lot, so but we going into the same state of presence, and we're
mm,
doing it for the same exact purpose. We want to tap into our body. We want to disconnect from the busy mind, and so that we can connect to to the creativity, or to the source, even, like, depending. But it's different practices, similar objective, and I think it's a matter of preference, and probably for you it will change as well. It's not like you're only gonna meditate, or you're only
mm.
gonna do something. Like, you pick and choose depending on the day, depending on whether it's work or personal, or whether how you feel in the morning, because there's so many different modalities. So maybe you can tell us as well, because you sounds like you tried a lot of the things that are the same as me. I kind of had to be the guinea pig for everything
Mm.
to then decide whether it works for me or not. Because I believe you shouldn't be saying something doesn't work if you actually haven't give it a proper go. So is there any other practices that you swear by, that you use to either, elevate your consciousness or just have a better day?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think started with meditation and, it started with yoga. That sort of was my ultimate way to get to meditation. Then meditation was where the real crazy spiritual ideas started coming in, and angels and
Yeah.
angel numbers and manifestation. I think something that I stumbled upon a couple of years ago now was at the start of each year, literally 1st of January, write
Mm-hmm.
down an A4 sheet. That's it. Of every sentence starts with "I am grateful for,"
Mm-hmm.
and then just whatever I was grateful for afterwards, for all the things that I wanted to manifest. And last
Okay.
year, every single line on my piece of paper, bar one line, came true.
Okay.
And I've got my 2025s on the wall over there.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, most of that so far, we've got 3 months to go, but
Yeah,
most of
looking
that so far has come true. And
okay.
it's not some really technically written special um way of writing them. It's literally "I'm grateful for," and fill in the next sentence, and keep it just I just kept it to a sentence. And then I just blue tacked literally just ripped it out the folder, blue tacked it to the
Yeah,
wall over there, and I think I just walk past them on a daily basis here and there, and it's
yeah.
super.
Yeah, it's very good to have. Like, I have like two vision boards that are on the wall that I can stare. So now that when I'm in my office, I just see it every day, whatever
Mm,
is of on my business vision or my personal vision. And there's like certain words or something that even if I don't go and properly read through it, it's in your eye level, so you like your subconscious remembers about it. You remember about it. It's like this almost like an accountability in a way as well, because it's constantly,
mm,
you're constantly being reminded of, even just in passing. But I think it has a big impact to have some sort of visual of where you're going, either like a mantra sentence that can help you, or like the whole list, like you said, which sounds great. I might do that in January. uh,
yeah,
Although I would say that you can just do it anywhere and just,
yeah,
yeah, it probably, you don't have to wait to January. If anyone is interested in doing it, you can do it today.
yeah.
You can just decide that you check in a year. But yeah, it's kind of like this beautiful outside, not proof, but something that it's good to have, good to be reminded,
Mm.
where you're going.
And I've got my vision board right down behind the desk as well. So same
Yeah,
thing. And something I did with my vision board is all the images I found, I AI'd my face onto the images.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I am the person in the thing.
yeah.
And
You are, yeah,
for a bit, I had my images as a background on my computer.
yeah,
But I've got some really fun, pretty out there images. So
yeah,
I realized that when I was doing screen shares and stuff, it was probably not the best thing to have.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So they're just on the vision board at the moment. And
Mm.
I found that really, really powerful, combined with every morning I wrote down about a page and a half as part of a course. I wrote
Mm-hmm.
down a page and a half of a vision for my life.
Yeah.
So there was a meditation, then just freehand write it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I recorded it as an audio. And
Yes.
every day in that sort of sleep to wake
Yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
before I can really figure out what's going on, the hand comes out the bed, sort of presses play on this thing, and I've got
You
about
listen
a
to it.
four and
Yeah.
a half minute vision audio of the really big things in my life where I see it going, who I am, who's in my life.
Mm.
And I have to say, I did it less than a year ago, and quite a few things are pretty much coming
Okay.
true already. It wasn't a 30, 40-year plan. Lots of
Yeah.
things are already
Yeah.
coming true
Wow,
or
that's
are true.
amazing. And you manage to listen to it every day?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you
Uh,
have a pretty good discipline.
yeah. I think that's what I've learned is if I can do something and it's easy, I'll keep doing it,
Mm.
but I
Yeah.
won't keep trying to force myself to do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Another one that I stumbled upon over the last couple of years is chakra-based affirmations.
Okay.
So if I want money, keep it a
Mm.
super simple one, or if I want health, you we go through all of our chakras and we say them of how our chakra
Yeah.
interacts with that thing. So I feel the freedom money brings me. I speak money. I
Mm.
talk about money with friends.
Yeah.
Um, I make charitable donations. I feel safe with money in my bank. And I actually wrote a
Mm.
custom GPT. So you can just write in one sentence of what you roughly want. And I use this
Yeah.
myself all the time. Each
And
month,
then
I sort of step it up to a different thing.
yeah.
And I just write in what I want. And it just produces me this whole affirmation script of all the chakras as affirmations. And then I
Yeah.
just record it as audio, pretty
Yeah,
crappy.
because like for those who don't know, that there will be like I am or I feel or I speak or I depending on the which chakra it is, it
Mm,
has beginning of the affirmations. So yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's
I'm
pretty cool.
happy to share that with you, so you can stick it in the show notes. I've never shared it with anyone, but I think
Yeah, well,
anyone can
yeah,
just
go for
use
it.
it.
If you remember, I only know like two or three off the top of my head, so feel free um to share, or if you have like a document, we can link it in the description of the video if you have already something prepared that people can reference. I think that's a pretty cool, and you use that to rewire your limiting beliefs, or to like
Yeah.
what's the purpose of doing that?
Yeah, it's a huge amount to rewire my limiting beliefs,
Mm,
and I don't meditate while I'm listening to it. I don't,
yeah.
it's not a specific thing. I'll just put it on in the background at some point,
Mm,
and I'm not even that, precise as I have to listen every day,
yeah.
but I know it's there, and when I do these things, I am pretty good at going to listen to them. So my vision
Yeah.
audio, yep, every day, but the chakra-based affirmations I've done them for relationships.
Oh,
Um,
so you have like a ready-made audios that you can just play when
yeah,
oh, I see, I see. So you prep them and now they're just ready to be listened whenever you need them.
yeah, and they generally last in my world for a month to 2 months.
Mhm.
I think there's the magical 88 days that some people
Yeah.
say you have to
Okay.
listen to things or do things.
Okay.
Some of them I've done for a couple of months or listened to for a couple of months. Some are now completely redundant because all the things have shown up in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, which
But
is a great proof that it works. So that's good.
yeah, and so as and when I have something that I think is big enough, worth manifesting, I'll
Mm.
just go to my custom GPT like, hey, what I'd like to manifest is um, uh, more flexibility in yoga, and
Mm.
it will just produce the whole list of affirmations around that I can then record and listen to when I want to.
Okay. Well, I want to see that custom chat GPT prompt, because maybe I'll create something for my knee. You know, you can one can dream of that pain-free leg. So I'm broadening my horizons now when it comes to this recovery. Um, let me just I'm checking the notes what I wanted to ask you as well, because there was like I like where the conversation went because I think it's important, the pain and the personal stories. So we didn't talk much about the business
Mm.
side of things, but I think it's a very important.
Well, I'm interested
Hmm.
how your experiences, and this would be interesting. It's interesting for me. Is that how have your experiences led into what you're doing now? Because I know you've got quite a journey of. I saw some of your reels the other day of
Yeah.
full Muay Thai fighter
Mm. Yeah, it
to
was alive.
yeah to hurting your
Lots of
knee.
identity deaths had to happen.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things with the pain that I was carrying in your Muay Thai is like
Mm.
what identities are we putting over the top of who we really are? Because I think this
And
process really helps us strip those back and find ourselves in a way.
yeah, a big challenge in my recovery was to let go of the fighter identity, which I was super. It took me so long to finally accept myself as an athlete because that alone was a journey for me to like see myself as this worthy opponent and all that kind of stuff. That was journey on its own, and then pretty much almost immediately after I was confident in my skill and had this old dream about turning pro and stuff, that's when the surgery happened. So I was like, what?
No.
Fuck off, not now. And then it was like this whole letting go of this identity, trying to figure out who I am outside of the ring, outside of it was more than just the ring because all these other things started happening at the same time. So it was like this very different identity, seeing that there was like those personas that we built, and the pain and Muay Thai in many ways was also my armor,
Mm,
like we put those things. So I wanted to be this strong person from the outside because of the things that I was repressing in the inside. So in hindsight now, I know that everything happens for a reason. So like I knew I had to train Muay Thai because to be able to survive what happened in the last 4.5 years, I needed that strength. So
mm,
the 15 years of training that I've done didn't go for nothing just because my dream wasn't manifested. But everything that I've learned from Muay Thai and all the other things that happened in my life were beautifully transferable to the journey that I embarked on afterwards. So nothing kind of gets lost. Sometimes we think, oh, I did this degree and it's useless or whatever, like in my life, because I studied English and now I live in English speaking countries for so long. I was like, what do I even have this master's degree in? What's the point? But now I'm writing a book. So like, it's beautiful because I remember all the English, everything I learned about English. So it's easy for me to write a book in English now, easier than in Polish, actually, because I have all this knowledge that I've gathered throughout those studies, right? So, um yeah, the pain is a big eye opener, and I
mm.
think but part of my mission is to encourage people about deciding to change before something as painful happens, because
Yeah,
you have to wait until to your breaking point to change.
and this interests me as well. Is
Yeah.
what I've definitely been through points of huge transformation at huge, yeah. When literally the world has just hit me sometimes.
Yeah.
I actually subluxed my shoulder as well
Mm,
6 7 years ago now at this point, and that was a point of okay, same as you. I was putting armor on my body, strong, like
mm,
couldn't break all that stuff, and that was actually a similar experience of drop it back, come back to body.
mm.
But I wonder, I I have found myself now, the further I go into this world, is being more preemptive. And we were discussing before we hit record on this.
Mm,
I've definitely overdone spirituality at some points.
mm,
I've overdone going to the all the transformational events,
mm.
but I do think continually working on myself at a good pace. I'm
Yes.
not trying. I think now I'm not trying to get to somewhere because there's something wrong.
Yeah.
I just more always have probably at least every second week I'm doing something relatively transformational. There's some
Mm,
transformational elements. So I do lots of breath work. I've
Yeah.
done 3 in a week with 3 different people in 3 different experiences, and that was probably too much to
To be
handle.
forbidden. Yeah.
But I do see a huge value in every 2 weeks, to every month having a big transformational breath work,
Mm,
going at least once a month to a big dance,
yeah.
sitting down once a month. I'm not someone who journals that much. I'm actually
Mm.
dyslexic, so your
Yeah,
writing is
yeah,
probably better than me.
yeah, 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 yeah. But you
Um,
can sit in meditation, which I'm just like, "No, let me go
yeah,
and move."
yeah. So, um, I think I've come to more committing to a constant evolution
Yeah.
versus I think before there was no evolution. It was just build up, build up, build up, snap.
Yeah.
And I
Because I
think,
think for as long as we go from this whole we need to fix ourselves, which is by the way not a great foundation to build anything if you keep thinking that there's something wrong with you. But I
mm,
think we all start there. We all start our journeys with I gotta be fixed one way or the other.
mm,
But that's where this acceptance comes in and as well. So I always come in with well, that's why I love vision, because when you know vision, when you have your vision, when you know where you want to go, it can still change. Obviously, everything is adaptable, but then you can decide what sort of practices or that's kind of how you figure out where you want to go, what modality you want to, that's how I figure out my healing journey. That's how I figure out who I want to be, my purpose. All of this happened because I had this bigger thing. I was writing this book, and that kind of led me into all those things. So yeah, you kind of need to be in the moment. You want to zoom out here and there, but you mostly want to be in the moment and trusting that your next step will open up more possibilities. And then you will decide again instead of having this 5-year plan or
yeah,
even the vision itself, which is my thing to make people more aware of, is not a 5-year plan, because you can it's more like a feeling, or it's more like the legacy, or more like a thing that you want to help the world with, right? And then however it can happen in so many ways, so it's less about exactly how you're going to do it, the product or whatever, but more about who you need to become. So the embodiment of you, like you said, the $1 million Henry, or the Maggie that dances and helps people release emotions through the body. Who am I need to be able to pull that off. And then
mm,
you work on yourself, and then you can find, okay, so maybe let me try this modality, or let me, so I need to be doing my own practices if I want to do certain thing. So like my own movement practices are not just for me. It's something that I'm going to be teaching in the future, and or very soon actually. So like I know this is part of my mission. So I'm going to commit my own time to go more deeper in it, because I know this is important to where I am going.
mm,
So it's easier then to pick the modality or pick what, like to me, you follow your curiosity. Once you
mm.
open yourself to opportunities, you're going to be curious about something. So it's not for us to tell you go journal, go do a breath work. Go listen to your body, go listen to your heart, listen to the clues, listen to what is fun for you, what are you curious about, and go follow that, because everyone is different. So
Mm.
like you said, you prefer meditation, I prefer dancing to meditation any day, but I'm not better than you, or not the other way around. It's like this works for me, this works for you. The result, the same.
Yeah, and I think something that, for general life advice,
Mm,
looking back now, I would say for anyone who's below 25, say yes to 9 out of 10 things, and after 25, say no to 9 out of 10
yeah.
things. I think it's
Yeah,
kind of
please
the
don't say
same.
yes to many things though. Yeah, that would not be my advice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Choose
and
wisely.
but I think especially at the start of where I've really delved into the energy side and things,
Yeah.
it was literally just say yes to 9 out of 10 things that seem roughly right. And then over
Mm,
time, I've started saying no to more things, and I've actually found the things that work. So I think it's also a case of just try all these, you know, don't, or for me, affirmations
mm,
and embodying new practices and ideas and feelings in my body. I know that's going to take 90 days. I know I've said one of my reprogramming things now for 260 days every single
yeah.
day,
Yeah.
3 times a day.
Wow.
So I know things will take time, but I think it's also nice to remember that in the journey, it doesn't all have to happen in 1 second. It is actually a
Yeah.
journey, and
And it's the journey that you're meant to be enjoying, not just thinking about the outcome and the, oh, I need to get there, I need to get there. No, the way you are getting there is the reward.
yeah,
The
and
journey is the reward, not the shiny thing. Or because once you get there, you're then gonna have a new vision or a deepening of that. So there's gonna be another thing that you're gonna work towards. Like it's never ending in that sense,
mm,
which is exciting, right? It's not because we're here to grow constantly. So the journey is pretty much the reward. I think that's what helped me even with the physical pain, right? Because I was like, okay, well, it hurts, but I'm learning so much on this journey. I can't deny that I'm not learning because I'm
mm,
also tapping into the learning rather than complaining about the pain, which
mm.
obviously don't get me wrong. I'm sure there was days that I was not happy with my body and I was not happy with my situation sometimes, but there's a difference between experiencing and expressing the frustration and staying in the victim mentality. Those are two different things.
Yeah, and I never used to want to, take my t-shirt off down at the beach. I would do everything not to show myself off because I was so
Yeah.
embarrassed about,
Yeah.
um, the twist that goes through the couple of vertebrae at the top of my back. But over time, as probably my mind and my body has shifted, like,
Mm.
I'm at the beach, I don't care anymore. Like, I'm
Yeah, because like what I've understood, because I definitely had like a very harsh language with my leg, like you kind of like you're angry at it, and then
yeah,
if you imagine it, it's the same like when, to me it's very similar to the inner child work. If you imagine the part of the body that you're not happy with as a inner child or as a child, or it's just something outside of you, and then you speak to it with this language, with this hate, with this you're not enough, then it's like, imagine that, I mean, it's literally you saying to yourself that you're not enough. You
mm,
just directing it at your knee or at your back or whatever, but you are perpetuating this idea that you're not enough, which is most of the popularity problem, right? Like not problem, something that we all here to alchemize and change is tapping into unconditional love, I believe, and
mhm,
actually seeing that we are worthy as we are, regardless of where we are in the journey, regardless of how much we accomplished or how much money we have or wherever we're going. Each and every one of us is worthy as we are, right? But we are not brought up that way. And that kind of language on any issue we find with our body is just perpetuating this idea. So I think it's very important to make sure to speak to yourself in a very compassionate way.
yeah, and I think over my journey, I've also learned that some days I'll just have the most perfect thoughts, and
Mm.
I've worked on my energy. I'm zen today. I'm zen,
Yeah.
and then the
Yeah.
next day it's like, I don't like myself. What's happening?
Or
And
5 minutes later, so
yeah,
disappear off. Yeah.
and I think it's that whole overtime thing that if on day one, as I said, I could only envision myself with a broken back, but over
Yeah.
time, not saying every single day I now look at myself as not having a broken back, but most of the time when I'm
Yeah.
checking in with myself, I don't see that. So I think it
Yeah.
really is that journey, and who knows how fast we get there, or
It actually doesn't matter how
if
fast we get there because we are learning so much along the way that I think sometimes we're even not going to get where we think we want to be going because so many other things will happen along the way that it's going to just completely change where
mm,
you want to go. Because a lot of the time we imagine things from the logical perspective, so we can't even imagine the great things that can happen for us because we don't have like a comparison. We don't think it's possible, so we can't even go there.
mm,
So it's yeah, small steps, big leaps, right? So it's like, I think it's the athlete in me for sure. Like I like to refer to Muay Thai or something. It's like, I mean, you don't go and you don't learn Muay Thai in one day, right? You need to go into rep, 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 rep. And you're gonna fuck up sometimes. Sometimes you're gonna feel amazing. Sometimes you're gonna feel like you never trained before. And it is what it is. You take a break and then you soar again. So it's like anything with life. It's just because you reach something once doesn't mean that then you don't need to work towards it again and again and again. It's like you consistently need to put an effort to get the results that you are after. But if you
Mm.
think about it in a fun way, in like, oh my God, look at me, like tapping into my potential, doing things I never imagined possible, like that's your motivation. That's where you find this encouragement for yourself. And in my opinion, you are the only person that can do it. Like I can give you a little bit of my excitement, but it's, it's not going to stick unless you're going to embody it, unless you're going to start taking action that will then move the needle.
And yeah, and I think one of my friends who's a great storyteller, his
Mm,
whole world, his whole what he teaches is storytelling.
yeah.
One really cool question that he told me, I was like, how do you understand what's a story? And he
Mm,
said, I ask myself at the end of every single day, what is different about today than yesterday? And I
okay.
didn't quite take that in the story sense that he wrote it.
Mm,
But I think that same thing of it's appreciating the journey is
yeah.
what about today is different than yesterday. I find a really interesting question to ask myself. I'd say at the end of every day, but that's one of the things that it's not an absolute daily thing with me.
Yeah.
But I'll try and ask a good couple of times a week, what about today was different than yesterday, and
Mm,
appreciate that difference.
yeah.
Um, to be like, this is a journey.
Yeah.
This isn't
Yeah.
a start and finish line. Let's say.
Yeah. Yeah, which to me again sounds like pausing and appreciating what you
Mm,
have, and that's what a lot of us, me included, never. We used to just power through and do. But you gotta pause, you gotta reflect, you gotta appreciate where you are, and then that's how you maintain this journey and this excitement about it. I know we are cutting. I think we need to shortly wrap this up.
mm.
So before we wrap up, Henry, do you want to share where the audience can find you? I'll link everything so you don't need to spill out the whole HTTPS address. Um, but like, where are you? Uh, where is the best to contact you if anyone would like to be in touch
Yeah,
or learn more about you?
totally. Isn't it funny? 15 years ago, we would have had to do the HTTP
Yeah,
colon
yeah.
slash slash.
www dot.
Yeah, www dot. You can
I'll just
simply,
link it. I'll just link it. Don't worry.
yeah, my simple way to find me is henryreith.co. And my business that we kind of half touched on,
Yeah.
that is ocrap.com.au, and we do non-plastic dog poo bags. So that's where my spirituality is sort of spilled out into business in that side of
Yeah.
things. So yeah, they're the two really easy ones. Then Instagram is just simply /Henry Reith.
Okay. We'll link all of that. Is there anything specific that you are promoting right now? Any service or any product or anything that you would just want to quickly drop in before we finish? Or
Come to my website, henryreith.co, and exactly on the point of gratitude, there's currently a waiting list coming to uh, a very, very cool gratitude journal that is good. It's very progress in life focused versus
okay.
hey, how do you feel today? So working on a bit of that. So just come to henryreith.co, and
Okay.
it'll be on the front page there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Henry. This was a pleasure to have you. Thanks for the great convo. I think there's some really good tips, especially for people with some pain and the people that have suffered through some injuries, which I think is a really popular topic that maybe we don't have that much info on. All the best on your journey, and I'm sure we'll catch up in Sunshine Coast at some point.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Maggie.
My pleasure. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Until next time. Bye.